What is up, guys? It's Mason once again, and today we are going to take a look at a game that was played in the Grand Chess Tour finals between Fabiano Caruana and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, or Vachier-Lagrave, however you want to pronounce it. I really struggle with that. And we are looking at a game from their Blitz portion, game 3 to be precise. Now, the stage for this is they played 2 classical games, 2 rapid games, and then 4 blitz games. And the point distribution is like very different. So if you win a classical game, you gain 6 points. You draw, you gain 3. You win a rapid game, you gain 4. You draw, you gain 2. You win a blitz game, you gain 2. You draw, you gain 1, right? So at this point in the blitz section, by the end of the rapid section, Maxime had taken the lead. He was at 10 points and Fabiano was at 6. So with 4 blitz games remaining, what that means is that Fabi has to go at least 3 games, in fact 4 games undefeated, right? Because 2 draws is going to make sure that he doesn't have any chance of like winning the tournament. And he goes off on a bang, right? He wins game 1, he wins game 2. Very interesting games. You can go and check them out. But I'm very much interested in game 3, and that's what we're going to take a look at. So buckle up and enjoy the show. So we have e4 by Maxime, c5. I won't spend too much time on the opening. They basically played the Shnezhdikov. I hope I said that right. Sicilian. But we'll get to a specific point, just going through the moves. So if you're interested in knowing the opening. Yeah, so we get to this point after castles by white. And Fabi makes a different decision. Now, throughout, I think, from the rapid portion, I think the classical portion, they did play the same thing, maybe apart from 1 game. But in the blitz portion, in this specific game, Fabi plays something completely different. And throughout the games, he was always playing this f takes e4, bishop takes, and then bishop to g7. He was like always playing that, but this time he plays bishop takes d5, and after pawn takes d5 or e takes d5, we have knight to e7. Completely different game. And I watched his c3 podcast, and he spoke about how like he could tell like Maxime was tilting based on how the first 2 games went. The first 2 games of the blitz portion worked. So he started taking these like interesting decisions to try and gain sort of like an advantage. We get the move c5, e4, and then bishop to e2. We have bishop to g7, targeting this pawn here. You can't make a willy-nilly move like this, right? Because bishop takes, and then you either lose the rook or you lose the knight. So we get queen to d2 defending, pawn takes, knight takes, and I mean the position is completely fine. You may have to like play rook to c1, b3, so on and so forth. I mean, there's a clear target here for white, like queen to queen to f4 to target this. These are the various plans that are like going on in this position. We have castles by black, queen to f4 like we said, and then knight takes d5. And here you can see clearly the tilt that Fabi was mentioning. I'm not saying it. I mean, I'm not at their level, right? But Fabi saw the tilt, and it's obvious here because he plays the move queen takes f5. He had the option to go queen takes d6. Why is this important? Well, these are central pawns, connected central pawns, right? So you would really more or less want to deal with that, so that like it's much easier to deal with what do you call it, the pawns on the king side, than to have these central pawns where your opponent can put rooks behind them and then just keep like pushing them forward. So taking this side pawn rather than the main pawn is a very questionable decision, and Fabi sees that and takes advantage of it. So even here the engine considers this a blunder. We have knight to e7 and then queen to h5. In fact, like, just look at the moves, right? This is a sign like something is going off, right? When you are playing a game and you just realize that you just keep making these kinds of moves, there's something off somewhere, right? You have to take a break. Knight takes d5, queen takes, knight jumps back, queen h5, and then we have d5. So now you can see the incoming pressure on white's position. We have rook a to d1, and then we have f5. f5 cuts off the queen's defense, if I said defense, attack on the d5 pawn. We have b3 solidifying the knight here. Now the bishop is kind of obsolete on this point. King to h8, and then we have g3. Queen to c7, taking the queen out of the pin. And then we have knight to knight e3, because now the knight is actually being threatened to be captured. And then we have d4. Now the pawns are trooping in. We have knight back to c4. I mean, it's just sad, right? And then knight to d5. Knight to d5, the aim is to get the knight to this square. You kind of have like 3 targets. And here Maxime makes a very nice move. This is sort of like a bailout move if your opponent is not looking. Again, this is a blitz game, so if your opponent is not looking, you really have the chance to take the advantage here. How? If your opponent just jumps in with like knight here, you can instantly play bishop takes and you're threatening checkmate, and this allows the position to like even out, right? Even if you take here, these pawns are not as strong, and white is basically having like a good time in this position, right? You have a possibility of a pass pawn here. You can easily deal with these guys. The king can join in. I mean, you have a fine time here as white. You've dealt with all your problems, right? Let me turn off the engine. My PC is overheating. I've mentioned it already, so let me just turn it off just to deal with it. So now we have knight to e5. Now, the reason for knight to e5 is you would love to play, for example, if you could, sorry, I'm mixing the moves. Yeah, so he goes back, basically defending the pawn so that this move doesn't happen. The bishop goes to h3 so that it can't be captured, but still keeping the pressure on in case black slips. Rook a to d8 and king to h1. White basically has no moves, right? His pieces are just stacked. There are no positive moves that you can make. There are threats coming on at you. Any move you make could actually weaken your position. So mostly when top players are playing and they realize they can't spot their structure, or they can't risk spoiling their structure, they just make these waiting moves of moving the king back and forth until something pops up. Now we have rook to d5. Yeah, I think it's here. I think here is where you, like, if you went back, you can't go this way here. I'm trying to remember the line. Well, forgive me, I can't remember it. Rook a to d8, king to h1, rook to d5, rook f to e1, trying to defend, rook to c5, bishop to g2, and now that the bishop has left this side, and now that the rook is defending this side, you can go knight to d5. Why? If your opponent does come back with the bishop, knight here, and you don't have that threat, right? Because bishop takes and now the rooks exist, right? So he kind of fixed the issue and went in with the idea, right? Sorry, that's not what happened. So now we have queen to g5, knight to c3, rook to d4, f4 finally, right? There was a point in the game you could play f4, but it doesn't actually work, and that's what I was trying to remember. Queen to g5, queen to g4, and then we have f3. Do you see the grip? Do you see the grip on his position? It's just going to get worse. Bishop to h3, queen to c6. Queen to c6 has this possibility of, like, if ever you push these pawns forward, you do so with a check, and that could even end in checkmate, right? But it doesn't work now. And Maxime is like, yeah, there's too much pressure. Let's deal with this. I see what's happening here with the queen. Takes, and now pawn push d3. Where can you move? Like, what can you do? There's just absolutely nothing you can do. The bishop can't deal with these guys. There's just nothing you can do. Where are you going to move your rook? Maybe you can move your rook here, but then you get pawn pushed. Like, there's nothing. There's nothing you can do here as white. And this is the kind of chess I would love to play. Like, I really love this kind of chess. Positional chess, it's a complete lockdown. Only one person is playing chess at this point. Like, yes, there's black and white. I make a move, you make a move. But at this point, there's only one person playing chess. Knight to e3, knight to e2. Like, oh boy. Rook d to d1, bishop to d4, bishop to c4, bishop takes, pawn takes, and now you've opened the file. This pawn is coming in, but he makes the move a5. Again, at this point, it was kind of like time pressure. I think he was at 27 seconds. They do get increment, but Fabio was at like 27 seconds, so he was autopiloting here a bit. But he did mention that there was like rook here, which weakens your opponent's defense, allows knight takes, so on and so forth. But a5 is not bad. The rook comes in, he goes a4, and to add salt to injury, he plays a3. Oh my god! Like when I saw this game, I was like, this is crazy. G4, white has to try and find a way to escape. Needs to make space for the king. We have king G7, rook f4, f2, and now h5. Just trying to open things up. Takes, bishop takes, pawn takes, rook takes, and then rook to c5. You are threatening checkmate here. h3, knight jumps in with check, and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, MVL, resigns the game. Why does he resign the game? At this point, you are going to be down like 2 pieces. Because after the king moves, knight to e4, targeting this guy, right? Eventually, the pawn is going to push forward. This rook is going to come in to join in the defense. You may have to sacrifice your rook for this pawn. Regardless of what he tries to do here, it's almost impossible, right? Pawn push is going to happen. The game is just practically over at this point. So a very, very, very wonderful game by Fabi. I looked through the games. I wanted to do a whole like finals dive, but when I saw this game, I was like, you know what? I want to spend time on this. I've really looked through this game. I really enjoyed it. I've summarized quite a lot of it. There's many other things going on in this. But this is the kind of chess I would like to play. And I think Fabi did a very good job. And with this win, he took over the tournament, right? So now he had, I think, 12 points and MVL had 10. If MVL won the next one, it was a tie and they would have to do Armageddon. But they had a draw in the final game. I think Fabi had won the emotional battle. MVL was tilted, and that was it. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.